Okay. Well, welcome everyone to our MindsDB In Practice webinar. This is our September webinar. This will be I think, the third last webinar that we do for the year. So super excited. We have something amazing to show for you guys. But let's start with my name is Chandra and I am your host, as well as the community and marketing coordinator of MindsDB. With me today, we have Senior Product Manager Alejandro Canto. He will be showcasing knowledge bases and how to perform a cross-join hybrid search on two different knowledge bases. So that's pretty exciting. Before we start, you will note that there is a chat option at the bottom of your screen. Please let us know where you're from, what you do for a living, and also what use case you have that you would love to solve with AI, and we can see if MindCP can assist you as well. We also have a Q&A tab. At the end of Alejandro's presentation and demo, we will be taking questions. So feel free to pop a message in the Q&A tab and we will answer all of your questions. We will either read out your questions out loud, or we will invite you to the panel, or in other words, allow you to talk, where you can just verbally ask your question as well. That's depending on how many questions we have. Okay, so without further ado, Alejandro, can you just give a brief discussion as to what you will be showing us today?
Yes, and I got some slides. So I'm
I
gonna stop.
think you are muted, Alejandro.
Am I muted? Can you hear me?
No, we can hear you, Alejandro.
Oh, perfect. All right, let me see if you can see my screen. Big thumbs up. Thank you. All right, everybody. So thanks again, everyone, for joining. Super excited to be here today to talk about, of course, knowledge bases and cross joins, which is, I think, a really unique and cool use case that MindsDB enables in the search of knowledge bases. So a bit of a recap over the last few months. We've been introducing knowledge bases as one of the key kind of tools that we can find in our open source that allows the users and allows people to be able to search by content, search by using metadata filters, but really how can we provide AI to be able to find the right document, the right text based on semantic similarity. So really cool use case for RAG and all those systems that you guys might be building along those systems. But like the reality is like, how can we make knowledge bases more efficient? How can we really help us find a document that we're looking into? And the way that we look at this in MindsDB is that, yeah, we want to be able to help search through files or contents that have either small or large. But when we able get to see the large document sets, the large data sets, having extra tools to be able to find the right data is key to be able to find this data. So that's where we focus a lot on doing different type of searching, hybrid search, metadata filters, and we're going to talk today about cross joins. And cross joins is super exciting product that you're going to be able to see in a few minutes. All right. So just quickly agenda for this. So probably won't take a lot of time. We're going to talk a lot about the improvements updates, knowledge bases, hybrid search and metadata SQL algebra, and cross joins. Okay, cool. So our first improvement, and the one we're talking today, is KV search cross joins. So the main idea or concept behind cross joins and knowledge bases is that you can create multiple knowledge bases on MindsDB. And if you want to be able to find how can I find documents, titles, customers, anything that would relate or have different aspects in terms of these knowledge bases, cross-joins is the way to go. We can find a specific chunk or content or a document in one knowledge base, and then we can match it or map it to another document or chunk in another knowledge base. So we can really get really deep into really trying to understand granular um, searches and capabilities that we use from knowledge base. We're going to have a cool demo about this at the end, so stick around. So, our usual, right? Like we're just going to go a little bit like what are the components that we're using here on MindsDB to be able to do this and execute this. So for those who have already seen this a million times, apologies, but like there might be some new people in, so we're just going to go through it again. So this is our create knowledge base SQL statement, right? It's basically composed of three different sections. The first one is going to be the models that we're going to be using. So we're going to use an embedding model, right? In this case, could be OpenAI, text embedding through small, but we support multiple suppliers and providers that also support different embedding technologies, all the way from Google, um, Google, Bedrock, you name it, right? And we have all of the different like available providers we're going to find in our documentation, so feel free to take a look at. The next piece is going to be the re-ranking model, right? So which is the model that's going to help us figure out like if the return chunks from a query are actually relevant or not. So we can also select different type of models. You can go also into reasoning models. However, we do like, I think like for this ones, I would highly encourage to do one-shot models, maybe like GPT-4.1, 4.0. So, or if you're going to use Google 2.5 Flash. So we really don't insert a lot of latency, and I think a one-shot model should be good enough to be able to help us out with relevance under this perspective. Then the third stage of it is going to be really the key things of how we build a knowledge base. The storage, right? So by previously creating a database connection in MindsDB, we support Postgres and pgvector, and we highly encourage you to, like, if you're going to be building knowledge bases, to use a Postgres with pgvector enabled database. MindsDB has a default Chroma DB on the system. If you don't have that or you don't add the storage parameter here, but like the majority of functions and functionalities really come from pgvector, so really highly encourage you to do that. Then this is the key part, right? Metadata columns and content columns and the ID column. So in MindCB, everything we treat it as a table. So whenever you connect a data source, whenever you connect or upload a file, you're going to be able to treat it as a table or in that structure. So whenever building a knowledge base, you're going to select which columns of these tables are going to go where. So you might need there to do a bit of data preparation, a bit of data prep or something along those lines to make sure that that comes in the right format. But if some others already come like that by default, but it's good to go into this perspective where let's say like, all right, if I have a column that's going to be date, all right, I'm going to put that one inside of metadata columns. Then the content columns, which is really what's going to enable us to be able to search by content. It's whatever columns I want from my database to be able to be there, right? So these are the critical ones because these are the ones we're going to do the embeddings on. And we're going to help us to find the content based on the semantic similarity based on those content columns. And lastly, the ID column, right? The ID column is going to help us identify like which ID or column from your original data source is going to be referenced as the ID or main tracking on your knowledge base that you will be creating. If you have any questions, please do put them on the chat. And if there's a question, Chandler, please do let me know because I don't have the chat open. Awesome. All right, so now we created our knowledge base. We defined which columns are going to be content, which columns are going to be metadata. We selected the models that we're going to use for this technology. And then the next piece is really what we're going to be able to inserting into the knowledge base. So inserting to the knowledge base is also this simple SQL statement where you go insert into my knowledge base. You can do select star. So if all the columns are already in this in the source in the source database or this data source file or table, you can go. If not, you can select the specific columns that you want to be able to use and insert into your knowledge base. Then you select the source, which in this case is going to be db1.table. We also support here partitions, right? So if you're inserting vast amounts of data, you can select batch sizes, track column ID, which is going to help, which in case there's an error, you can come back and re-enable these partitions. Also really interesting. So please do go into the documentation for further details. But this is definitely highly encouraged if you're going to be doing a vast amount of insertion, right? Like I'm going to insert, I don't know, 100,000 dogs, maybe 1.5 million rows into this knowledge base, right? Like, so you might want to be able to track this or make it faster, but also it's going to help you recover if you come into an error. All right. Then searching, right? Like, okay, I have my knowledge base, I inserted data into it. And to be able to search on knowledge bases is using this SQL statement, which in this case, I'm going to show it with hybrid search. So in MindDB, we support three different type of searches for knowledge bases. First one is going to be just pure semantic similarity. Second one is going to be hybrid search. And in hybrid search, we have two variants, which is going to be all keyword or all semantic. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But the main idea is like, all right, I want to select, which is the ID and the relevance. You can select star and get all the results that are going to come back from your knowledge base. Then from the knowledge base you're quenting. And here's the fun part, where content equals query text. So content equals query text is what we're going to be able to use to do the semantic similarity search or keyword search based on this query and that content that happens exactly around that perspective. Then we can add extra different parameters. Like in this case, we're going to use hybrid search. True. So hybrid search enables to do a combination between semantic similarity and keyword search. Our keyword search capabilities go around BM25 posters of the system. So whenever we are actually inserting data into your knowledge base, we're also creating indexes for BM25 that will allow us to to search by keywords and that perspective. So how do you select between keywords and semantic? So that's where hybrid search alpha comes in. Our alpha value is going to help us determine which weight you want to be able to do. So think about this like a slider, right? If it's 0.5 is right in the middle and it's going to give the exact same weight for semantic similarity and for keyword search. If you go to 0, it's going to be 100% keyword relevance. If you go to 1, it's going to be semantic similarity 100%. So this is useful for different type of use cases where like, hey, my queries are going to be more keyword heavy, more keyword related, more like in that perspective, but maybe not that much. So it can help you play with this search pattern to help you find the right answers that we do, right? So this emphasizes our point that we need to have tools to make sure that we can find the data we're looking for with great levels of specificity. And this is the type of thing that allows us to do those experiments to determine which hybrid search alpha is going to provide better results for my use case. All right. So having think in this one, and then I'm going to just double down a little bit more on SQL algebra. And in SQL algebra, really what's really fun here is that it allows us to be able to be very specific on the type of things and metadata filters that we're able to search. So we allow all the SQL algebra to be able to combine with our metadata that we inserted into our knowledge base to be able to find uh, to find the right document that we're looking for. So this is just an example, right? Like we're searching for movies that are technology, computer, internet, cyber, and we want the genre to be thriller, and we want it to have a high rating, or we want to be genre sci-fi and have a higher rating, or we want the genre to be action and have a specific rating over 6.5. So we're going to be able to search specifically like which ones of all our movies, database in our movies, comply with this specific like metadata requirements. We're going to give some extra swag to whoever thinks which movie would be the one that this query would return. No guesses? Maybe by the end of it. And now cross joins. So cross joins really kind of enables, and like we're using, of course, this SQL structure to be able to do joins between two different tables. But the main cool thing here is that we're doing joins on actual knowledge-based searches. So using traditional joining SQL statements, we're just adding the clauses that now have something to do with knowledge bases as we go in. So we can select star from the joins on KB1 and KB2 as A, B, and we're going to join them under ID columns. And then we're going to start actually putting the things that we want to be able to do. So content from A, I want to be movies about dinosaurs with a high rating. And B, I want famous American director, right? And B, which country is this director from? So the main idea is that for this type of example is like in one database, we would have all the movies data sets, and another knowledge base, we have all the movies, and another knowledge base, we have all the information about directors. So we can really kind of merge it all together to figure out, all right, like I want movies about dinosaurs, but I also want it to be from an American director that goes into America. And that helps us find that specific cross join that we're going to help us to find that specific use case. All right. Now let's jump right into the demo. All right, before we go, all right, demo goats, don't let us down. So I kind of pre-filled a lot about this before, but just want to give us like the same idea of conflict of how we're going to be able to do this. So the first thing I did, I created a database with Postgres. I'm hosting my Postgres databases on Heroku, but you can find any Postgres hosting service that you want, and then you create the database. Once you run this specific, once you run this specific query, you're going to see your data sources showing up here. You can click there and you'll see like all the things that you have inside. I have quite a few of my tables on my Postgres, but like you get the idea. So for this specific examples, I am inserting two type of files. These are two CSV files that I inserted directly into MindsDB. So I went to Files, Upload File, and uploaded this. So now we can see that these two files actually exist underneath our data sources. So really quick for us to a bit of understanding, what we're trying to do here is we have two documents. One's a compliance document, and the other one's going to be customer data. So we have the document ID, the title of the document type, the jurisdiction, the regulation, the risk rating, their status, their version, the compliance department, their dates that go into this type of perspective, and some keywords that are going to be able to find there. Page count, how big the document is, and the summary snippets that we have created for this specific use case. For the customer data, we have the customer ID, company names, regions, account types, sentiment score, feedback that we're getting for this ones. So you're starting to see how there's like, yeah, these are two different complete like knowledge bases, but they're also matched in the terms of they are tied together by the customer ID. So we have a customer ID here that knows like which of these documents correspond to which customer, but also the compliance documents having the document ID, but they also are related to a specific customer. You can see it like here. There we go. In this column. So you can see where we go. We're going to do some cross joins on those customer IDs. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to create that knowledge base. The first is going to be compliance. I selected storage, hierarchy compliance table, and the metadata columns. You might notice that I don't have the embedding models and re-ranking. That's because on settings, I already have them default as my default model. So I have a default model. I'm going to be using OpenAI. I'm going to be using OpenAI as a re-ranking model, and I'm going to be using text embedding 3 large as our re-ranking model. All right, so coming back into this, create the statement, and you see how I'm using the metadata columns specifically to what we have on our documents. So selecting the doc time, jurisdiction, effective date, et cetera, are going to be the metadata that I want to be able to do for search and filters on. And then the content, which is what you want to be able to do, semantic similarity and keywords, are going to be composed of the title, summary snippet, and keywords columns. The ID that I want to use as our main finding is going to be customer ID. So run that one. I already did that, so like I'm not going to do that perspective, but then we go compliance KB. So same thing. I'm going to select the select all the fields that I want to be able to do, and then actually no, I'm inserting data into my compliance KB. So I'm going to select insert into my compliance knowledge base, and I'm going to use all the columns that we defined previously in the creation. I'm going to select the source, which is going to be that files compliance document that we uploaded, and you hit that, and then there you go. Now this compliance can be already built in parts, but like you're seeing now at this point. Now I have a knowledge base based on our documents, which I have an ID, the chunkings, the different chunks that we created, and you can see all the metadata that shows especially exactly into like the knowledge base, which allowed us to search inside of it. So same thing for customer data. We create it, we select the storage, we add the right metadata columns that we want on the ID columns, and once all this is built, we're going to see that the main IDs are going to be based on the customer, but also we're going to see chunk IDs, chunk contents, and metadata that's going to help us into it. And same as before, inserting data into this customer data. There we go. Like select the columns that we want from the file, and there we go. All right, now that's set up. Now let's really start looking into actually searching. So what do we want to be able to do here? So before we go into cross joins, I just want to do a bit of reference in terms of like how can we really find stuff using metadata, ranges, relevance filter, and hybrid search. So in this ones, I want to find EU-related policies with medium-high risk during a specific time window. So I'm going to be able to search, all right, like what's the content, data retention policy, and privacy handling. I want this to be in Europe, so I got a jurisdiction. So I'm going to use that metadata filter. I'm going to use the risk rating, and I'm going to use in, right? So medium and high, so we can select either both of them. We're going to select the date between two specific dates to get that range of the documents that I want to find. And I also want to have the relevance over 0.5. So relevance is going to help us, because whenever you do semantic similarity, sometimes all the results that come in are not relevant. That's where the re-ranking process comes in to make sure that the document you're showing is actually relevant to the query. So we can have that thing roll over into it again. And then hybrid search alpha, I'm going to have it on a hybrid search. I want to do a blend of semantic versus keywords, but I want to take it a little bit more to this on the semantic side of things because data retention policy and privacy handling, yeah, those are like a bit of keywordy, but I want to see if I can capture anything else that goes into that and limit to 20 the number of results that I want to get. So in that perspective, I run this query. It's going to take a couple of seconds, maybe because of the cold start, but there we go. So I was able to find on compliance KB the IDs of the customers and the chunks of the document that comply to this specific criteria. So in this case, we got incident response, data subject, request, records for processing. We're seeing the doors and all the metadata is specifically attached to this document. And you're going to see here on the end the distance and the relevance score that we have into this perspective. So if we want to be in, this is kind of interesting in that perspective, right? Like we got a relevance going into 75, but then this doc is not exactly 100% data retention policy and privacy handling, right? So that's what the system kind of knows that, and that's why the relevance is 75%, 0.75 instead of 99. So you're able to really try to think like, would this be helpful for my use case? Probably yes, probably not. But if it was not, then you can start really adjusting by relevance or searching your queries to make sure that you're only ingesting data that actually is going to be helpful for that perspective. All right. So the next example, again, from the compliance knowledge base, I want to find remediation and corrective actions, risk rating high, with a relevance of 0.4, and a hybrid search that goes a little bit over to 0.55. Hit and run this query. And we're going to see some chunk contents regarding breach notifications, incident response, remediation plans, and corrective actions. So there we go. We're able to find, again, not incredibly high relevance in these files, but it'll get us started getting us somewhere, right? Like we're trying to figure out like why is that in that perspective and help you identify what you want to be able to do. And now we're going to start looking into customer data. I want to see customers that had login failures in Europe or they're enterprise clients. And there we go. And we got feature requests, slow performance, billing errors, authentications reported by the user. So we're going to see also that our relevance are not incredibly high here because we didn't find any logging failures or slow performance into that perspective. On the contrary, if I were to look exactly for a slow performance, for example, I'm just going to do this example, we go right over here. Then the relevance starts to climb up as we go into the different type of searches. All right. Then again, it's going to check this one out. Content privacy, relevance high. So there we go. Security and concerns reported by the users that go into this type of perspective. So that kind of helps us to like kind of understand where can we really find this specific documents and files that we're looking into these data sets. All right, now let's actually start doing some fun risky compliance and knowledge-based cross joins. So we have the customer data and the compliance knowledge base. So we have the two ones. We're going to call them in C and D. We're going to join them on the ID. And what we want here is we want content with privacy policy violations on Europe. And we're going to be able to find security and data and privacy concerns. But also under Europe, we want to be able to be Europe and the risk rating in high. So if I hit this, it's going to help us find that match between these two perspectives and going to give us like that exact type of use case. So we're going to see here customer 17, right? They have a security concern reported by the user. We're going to see like this one, right? We got a high relevance, so this is actually pretty good. And then on the other one, right, which is the compliance KB, is going to tell specifically like which was the document that goes into this one. So we've got a processing statement, we have a SOX policy for you. So we can see that we have the two documents on the results from the two of the actual knowledge bases that match this criteria and give us the join. So it allows you to find that relationship between two knowledge bases based on your searching criteria, and if you'll be able to get that to that perspective. Going to do another example over here, and this one's going to be more about billing errors, contract disputes, SLA obligations, right? So we want to see customers that had billing errors, but also that they have SLA obligation service availability. So here one, customer 16, they report a billing error, and then we're going to be able to see how they have what type of document do they have to like SLA obligations of service availability. And you're able to see the results in that perspective, right? It kind of matches it all together. You're able to see, right? So even though, for example, we didn't have a really good high relevance, but you're going to be able to find like, yeah, this is a result. And you can also drive your intuition, but like if the relevance was high enough or not good enough to figure out like if you actually find a good match or not into that perspective. And our last example of the day, we have the customer data and compliance data. And here what we're going to be searching is going to be for logging and authentication issues and compliance regulations. We're going to run this last one. And again, we're going to find, there we go. So customer 28 had a logging failure reported in the users. And they're also going to see like which one of their customer data was frozen. They had a GDPR agreement, processing agreement in place. So here you're able to see like this actually became super useful. This came really perfect actually. We're having users that have GDPR content or GDPR agreements and documents, but they also are having logging failures reported by user. Pardon me, shouldn't have brought up a glass of water. So that's pretty much it. Like, I think this kind of shows up and enables us to see what are the different capabilities that you can use using knowledge bases, not just on the creation, but also how do you merge them together to find the right data that you're looking for into that perspective. All right, so
Right.
back to you, Chandra, and thank you to the demo gods.
Thank you that everything went through smoothly. We're going to take a couple of questions, so feel free to type any or raise your hand. But before we do so, just note that when we do these this cross-join hybrid searches, you need to make sure that when creating the actual knowledge bases, that both knowledge bases have the same ID column parameter as well. Right now, we can only do cross joins on the ID column. Hopefully, in the far future, our team will work on it where we are able to do cross joins on the metadata meta filtering column. So, hopefully, in the far future, we will be able to do so. I'm going to read out one question in the meantime. Jen said, what are some of the best ways to add a timeline to a knowledge base for documents with varied time references?
So if I understand the question in terms of timeline and time-based reference, we have a couple of default like at least time and date variables inside our knowledge bases, which is going to be created at and updated at in case you upload your knowledge bases. So like that would be a good way to keep track of like whether you're ingesting stuff, whether you're like updating stuff, whenever you're searching that, and you can use that to search in as metadata filters. You can select dates under that perspective, but then you can also add any other columns or metadata filters regarding to your time and date. So as long as they are in the time and date ISO format, then you can use that as metadata filters that you will be able to search into that perspective. So you can do that into searching like by time and date and using metadata filters in that perspective. Let me know if that actually answered the question or I totally responded to something else.
Thank you. Also, I'm going to share a link in the chat. This is a recently released blog, which is knowledge bases with MindsDB's SQL algebra. It has Alejandro, you actually wrote it. Can you just give a brief description of what people can see in the blog?
Yes, so this kind of like kind of explain all the different possibilities that you could do with SQL algebra. And I think like the SQL algebra and knowledge bases in MindsDB is what really differentiates us from other type of hybrid searches in the market or semantic similarity searches in the market, right? Like I think in the end, what you'll want to be able to do is have all the SQL combinations that are native to MindsDB and that allows us to be able to get into that perspective. So please do take a look at that doc, at that blog post, and do feel free and play around with metadata filters. I think that's going to be the key to finding the document you need, especially when you're looking into millions of documents or hundreds of thousands of documents.
Yeah. Jen mentioned in the chat, if you can see Alejandro, she's saying, looking to find if these people were in the same place at the same time spatially, were they involved in this event? I think that's the type of query that she would like to execute on her knowledge bases. Jen, I think that if you join our Slack community, we can help you figure out that query based on the data that you have. Alejandro will also be happy to help. So just pop a message in our questions channel. Alejandro, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think it's pretty much, I think it's pretty good. Thing to mention, our
Yeah.
community have a questions chat, and like, yeah, our team in MindCV looks actively at the community, and if we don't, Chandra will actually take a look at it and remind us that we have to answer. So we'll make it, you can be absolutely certain that we'll take a look at it and respond to you.
Awesome. And Neil asks, how do we see older webinars? All of our webinars are published on our YouTube channel. So feel free to go just search for MindsDB and you will see all of the MindsDB in Practice webinars and have a look. We've had amazing demos in the past. So yeah, hopefully you would like that as well. Chin also asked, any plans to integrate with something like Versace AI versus AI? Let me know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Aliado.
So I am Googling versus AI.
Yeah, me too.
So I think like to be completely honest with the answer, like we don't have any plan to integrate into versus AI at the moment, as we're just literally discovering it now, thanks to you. But like a lot of the things that we do under these integrations, we're able to see the value. We go into this, or we see a massive opportunity for the system. We'll build these integrations, and then we'll come back to one of these community calls and go into that perspective. So I can't promise any integrations with versus AI. I'll promise to take a look at it, and maybe there's something that's valuable for MindCB. We can build an integration there.
Amazing. Okay, I see there's no more other questions. I'm sending another link in the chat that is a blog post which actually goes through the process that Alejandro just went through, that Alejandro just demoed, where it shows how to do cross joins, hybrid search on knowledge bases. And here is a secondary one as well, where we use customer data and SLA compliance documents as well. Also ESG reports, field maintenance data and customer data. So there are various ways there are various data sets that you can use to actually do a cross-join hybrid search on, which is amazing. And I think this is a great way to correlate data as well. I see that we have a question in the Q&A tab. Okay, it's just a link from Jean Sebastian. Thank you, Jean Sebastian. Okay, if there's no more further questions, feel free to join our Slack community if you haven't already. Let me send the link in the chat as well for that. If you haven't joined our Slack community yet, please do so. Me and the team, we are in the Slack channels, especially the question channels. If you have any type of question, if you maybe just want to provide us feedback as well, just pop us a message in the channel. We will respond as soon as we can. Your feedback is obviously very valuable. So if you can test MindsDB and let us know how you experience it, if you have any feedback, if you experience any issues, please let us know. That feedback is extremely valuable. So I want to thank all of the attendees for showing up. Thank you also for your question. And then lastly, thank you, Alejandro, for your awesome demo.
No, thank you, Chandra. Thanks, everybody. Looking forward to see you
Okay.
next month.
Yes, looking forward to seeing everybody next month. Okay, have yourself a lovely weekend and enjoy your day further. Bye, everyone.